Poverty has become a major issue this election. Homelessness, the working poor, children go to school without any lunch and not having eaten breakfast. We've looked at all of those things on Checkpoint. Tonight we're going to look at pensioners living in poverty. With rents rising, as a single person, can you live off the pension? Lynette Haines at Mount Maunganui says unless you live in a caravan, you can't. Our reporter Zach Fleming and cameraman Brad White paid her a visit.
We're sitting in my little caravan. It's 3.3 metres in length.
For perspective, that's barely enough for an average man to lie down, arms stretched out overhead. Standing inside, I'm thinking small, cramped, claustrophobic even. But not Lynn. Here's how she described it.
She's kind of 70s style inside. I guess you'd call the colours in here gold and green and a deep blue to grey.
She said it's comfortable, except when it's cold, which is actually every night.
But I can fill a hot water bottle. I've got an electric jug which I can use in here. Fill a hot water bottle, and I've got plenty of blankets and bedding and warm things to wear.
Lynn is 69 years old, a job seeker living in a caravan at a campground in the Bay of Plenty. She epitomises the struggle of the hard-working but non-home-owning pensioner. Yet she is the glass overflowing kind of positive.
And my dad taught me resilience to get up and bounce back and roll with the punches, he used to say, when things didn't go right. You've got to roll with the punches, Lynn.
So how did she get here? She was working in a pharmacy when the global financial crisis hit in 2008.
I did love my job.
Made redundant, the then 60-year-old went on the job hunt. Number of applications?
Hundreds.
But she couldn't find a job, which she puts down to her age.
There was no chance. I think I got to one interview in all the hundreds of jobs that I applied for.
Then, to make matters worse, her landlord asked her to leave because his daughter needed a place to live.
My living situation has just gone slip back all the time.
Before and during all of this, Lynn was trying to get a place of her own, but
with the global financial crisis and my job loss, the bank couldn't give me a mortgage loan, so that went down the gurgler. So I kept hopeful, and that's why I kept applying for jobs.
But hope doesn't pay the bills, and that's Lynn's problem. The cheapest one-bedroom units in Tauranga that are suitable for long-term stays, as in not just an uninsulated converted garage, go for around $300 a week. The pension is $390 a week.
Okay, I could go out tomorrow and rent a little place and hand all my income, my pension income, over to the landlord. But that means I've got nothing left for dental care, health care, keeping tyres on the car, keeping the warrant and the registration going, putting food on the table, all of those things. I just couldn't have them.
The campground has communal bathrooms and kitchen. It costs Lynn $154 a week. She was there during cyclones Cook and Debbie earlier this year. She had to take refuge in the local library.
It's deafening. I have to lock up and get in my car and go.
We can't tell you the name of the campground because it's actually illegal for Lynn to be there. The Camping Grounds Regulations Act says nobody can stay at a campground longer than 50 days. But staying there means Lynn can afford the essentials.
Just recently I had 2 single dental visits for 2 single fillings, and they were $170 each.
And what would have happened if she was in a rental unit?
I would have to go to A&E and beg for the dentist to come and fix my tooth because I'd be in agony.
Lynn told me, as far as she sees it, her choices are live in the caravan or go into debt. I asked her what she does for fun.
In terms of...
She was confused. What did I mean by fun? I asked again.
Go walking on the beach, just across the road, so that's not too far away. Hop on the bus and get a bus ride. Thanks to Winston Peters, I've got a gold bus card which I can use locally, so I can go and walk around the city and enjoy the vista in some lovely places down on the Strand and around the city to walk, and beautiful parks. We've got beautiful parks here in Tauranga. I can go down to the Mount and enjoy Pilot Bay.
You'll notice none of these things cost money.
And go to the library, which is free to me, and contact friends and maybe meet for a cup of tea, and family when I get to see them when they're busy.
What about a movie? Dining out?
Anything that costs more than, say, $10, I've got to think twice. Restaurant meals are out for me. I can't ever get to a restaurant where I can go and sit down and be waited on. That is a no for me. And other little treats like an ice cream in a cone is nice. Basically that's really all I do.
Shopping is either the $2 shop or second-hand op shops.
So my meals consist of sausages and boiled vegetables, or
She gave us a tour of her caravan.
groceries in here, packets and jars, and
The food's mostly home brand or tinned. She has a small TV with a makeshift aerial that can only get channel 1 and 2. There are no signs of extravagance or irresponsibility. No computer, no internet.
unfortunately you've got to cut your cloth to fit your pocket, and some things have to go.
And that's just how it is, she told me.
Winter's very hard when you're cooped up in a little space, very hard. And it can be a wee bit depressing. You get a wee bit depressed. And even though I've had a positive attitude, there's times when I have think, well, why me? Why is this happening to me now? Is it ever going to change? And the whole time I'm planning, well, what can I actually do to get out of it? That's the other thing, as I've sat and made notes sometimes about what can I do.
Lynn thinks there are two ways: get a job, which she's as yet been unable to do, or Housing New Zealand. She's on the waiting list for a state house in the Bay of Plenty area to be near her grandkids.
At my age, going to a city where you don't know anyone and having to set yourself up and start all over again, it's pretty much a no.
The Ministry for Social Development's Regional Commissioner Mike Bryant says Lynn has been on the Housing New Zealand waitlist for just over a year, and she's considered a high priority. But because she occasionally house sits for friends or acquaintances, it changes her entitlement to accommodation supplement. Mr Bryant says MSD has 123 transitional housing places in the Bay of Plenty and is currently looking for an additional 290 social housing places, including 155 one-bedrooms. Mr Bryant says MSD would look at a discretionary bond and helping Lynn with rent in advance if she wanted to move into a rental unit. Otherwise, widening her search area would help, as, quote, one-bedroom properties in Tauranga are hard to find. I asked Lynn if she ever lies awake at night, unable to sleep.
Yes, I do. Sometimes I wake up in the night and I worry, and I get up and I turn the light on and I turn the radio on. I listen to a lot of Radio New Zealand during the night. I listen to Brian and Jess, and yeah, that's become my company. Your radio station has become my company in the night when I worry. I won't ring helpline because I'm not the only one.
We hear cases like this all the time. There isn't enough money for older people to pay rent, travel, transport, eat and look after themselves.
Stephanie Clare, Chief Executive of Age Concern, says Lynn is an example of a worsening problem as home ownership levels fall.
Once upon a time, that amount of money on retirement was aimed just to supplement whatever money they, the living standards of an older person. But in today's world, it's actually paying for everything. So it doesn't actually keep up with inflation and the needs of an older person.
And we have then single people in their retirement years on national superannuation who are in by any measure living in poverty.
I asked Tom O'Connor, President of Grey Power, what should Lynn do?
Sadly, there's not a lot. She needs to go to WINS.
She's on the Housing New Zealand waitlist at the moment.
Yeah, you can't live on a waitlist. We have people in dire straits in this country, and that's an indictment on a succession of governments that have allowed it to happen.
For Lynn, she's holding out hope of a state house or a job, maybe both, and that she doesn't get booted out of the campground for breaking the rules.
We live in uncertainty, and that's really a very difficult place to be. It's like a rock in a hard place.
For Checkpoint, Zach Fleming.
The owners of the campground Lynn is living in say they turn away at least one person a day in a similar situation asking to park their caravan permanently. And if you're wondering why Lynn isn't living with her son, he's also renting and doesn't have room for Lynn or her caravan.